Welcome back to the show, DBE fam. We've got a two-parter today. I'm very excited about this because this episode, or these episodes, have actually come from a question we recently got from one of our elite clients. And that question was, I have a membership, so do I still need to launch it? And the question really arose from this idea that because it's a membership, it's always open. So then how do you navigate around urgency or scarcity or FOMO or really deadlines in general when it's something that's always open? So in part one of this episode, we're really going to dive into different ways or different types of enrollment. The way that I see it, the way that I teach it, is that with products, you generally have 3 different types of enrollment. And if you're driving right now, you're folding laundry, you're half listening, half not listening, we got your back and we've actually created a download for you. There's a PDF that you can download directly in the show notes, and it's going to be everything that I'm talking about written down, really simple, breaking the 3 different types of enrollment down. So here we go. First type of enrollment is what we call open enrollment. Open enrollment is what we think of when we think of a traditional membership. This would even be like a brick and mortar. So you go to your gym, you walk in, you can enroll. They might do marketing promotions throughout the year, but it's always open. You can always join as long as you're ready. Whenever you finally want to pull the trigger, they can allow you to come in. And so oftentimes something like a membership is going to be open enrollment. This is where her question stemmed from. So how do I launch it if it's always open? Or do I have to launch it if it's always open? Or how do I create that urgency if it's always open? Which we'll talk about in part 2. But open enrollment typically means that anyone can buy at any time. You're also most likely going to be marketing it all of the time and promoting it all of the time, which means you're also going to be sharing testimonials and quotes and case studies all of the time. And if you're a coach or a service provider like I am, you're also going to be in the mastermind or in the membership, I should say, and you're going to be serving your clients all of the time. So for you as the business owner or the service provider or the coach, you're basically wearing all of the hats all of the time. Now, I'm not saying this to deter you from this method. I'm just letting you know this is one of the pros and cons, right? When we're making a pros and cons list. And I'll also say I have done all of these different types of enrollment for many different products and programs in my business over the last 11 years. I've tested them all. I've tried them all. Some I love, some I don't. Some I still do, some I don't. Some I use for one type of product and not another. I think there are different offers. There are different reasons and different intentions for different types of offers. It also is different when the price point is different or the investment is different. So lots of things to consider. But with open enrollment, you, the service provider or the coach, you are essentially wearing all of the hats all of the time. In one breath, one part of your day, you're marketing and you're promoting, you're sort of gaining leads, you're warming up prospects, and maybe even having sales conversations or reading through applications, or there's a process of onboarding that you might be doing with clients. Then you shift into a different role, maybe an hour later, and now you're serving, you're in the program, you're with the clients, you're coaching the people, you're training the people, you're answering questions. And then in another breath, another hour later, maybe you're offboarding clients, people are graduating, you're collecting testimonials, you're reading through case studies, you're auditing things. So you're sort of doing all the different elements at one time, every single day, all day. Now, I don't say that again to deter you. That actually might excite you, and that's a great thing. Knowing yourself is really important. So with an open enrollment, there also is no cap to how much money you can make or how much impact you can make. You can blow this thing up as big as you want. Anytime somebody's ready to say yes, anytime somebody wants your product, program, or offer, you can welcome them in with open arms. There's no waiting, so you can sort of strike while the iron's hot, for lack of a better term. Someone's ready, you say yes. So there's so much room for growth and play and curiosity and interest. Also with something like a membership, something that's more open enrollment, you might lean on your community a ton. You might have a massive community where they actually help doing some of the selling. They're sort of doing it for you. They're helping with creating this feel of almost like FOMO for other people that aren't in the community and they want to be a part of it. And it becomes like a frat or a sorority, right? Not in a bad way, but it becomes this ecosystem that you might not even be fully a part of, where now they're referring out, they're acting like ambassadors, they're talking it up, they're getting people enrolled without you. So again, lots of pros and cons to all these different types of methods. Now, I think, for my opinion, is that for something lower ticket, a membership could be fabulous. Again, think of a gym membership or some of the apps that you might pay for monthly or yearly. There's meditation apps people pay for. There are AI apps people pay for. Think of things like platforms as well. We use Slack, Monday.com, we use Kajabi. These are all things that we're paying for, Zapier. So it's kind of that same model of a membership model where as long as you're giving me the value that I'm looking for and you're keeping that there, or I need to continue to pay you to use your product, to use your service, then I'll pay all day. There are actually business models, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but it could be something like a fancy humidifier where you buy the humidifier once, but you meet, or like an air filter. That's a better example. You buy the air filter once, we have one right here, and every month or so, or whatever it is, we have to buy a new filter and change the filter. And so now it's like, as a business owner, you've made money on the initial product or the offering, and then there's recurring revenue that's coming in every month or every 3 months or every 6 months to get that thing serviced or to get that thing up to date, right? So that's a great business model to have. And I'll talk in part 2 about how do you sort of launch that if it's always open. So after open enrollment, we then move to rolling enrollment. Rolling enrollment is sort of a blend of open and then the traditional open closed, which is the third way. So it's sort of a marriage between the two. Rolling enrollment means you can strike while the iron's hot, right? Someone's interested, they want to buy, they're ready to go, they want to purchase, they need the transformation, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and so they want to purchase, and you let them. But what might happen is you put them into sort of a framework, a bracket, a cohort, a class, a system to keep them somewhat organized. So I'm going to use our signature program, Empower, which is our 12-week group coaching program, as an example. When you're in Empower, we have 3 different phases that we bring you through. And it just so happens that each phase takes 1 month. So month 1 of Empower, we're doing all of the foundational elements. Month 2, we're working on marketing. And month 3, we're working on sales. Now, Empower used to be rolling enrollment. In fact, it used to be open enrollment when I first started it many, many years ago. After open enrollment, we went to rolling enrollment. And this was sort of my transition to what it is today, which is open and closed. So rolling enrollment is this idea that you can purchase and come in whenever you want. However, stick with me when I'm talking about Empower. If you're in your first 4 weeks of the content inside of Empower, then you're only allowed to join coaching calls that are circled or surrounded by or themed on month 1 content, foundation content. So whether I'm hosting those calls or maybe I have a specialist hosting those calls, whether it's once a week or every other week, we have specific calls that are only structured to talk about foundational things. And for clients who are in month 1, weeks 1 to 4, they're allowed to get on those calls. When they graduate and they're in weeks 5 to 8, now they join month 2 calls. And it would be up to you. Maybe they're not allowed to join month 1 anymore, or maybe they can. It's totally up to you. But the key here is that they're not allowed to join month 3. So now they're in weeks 5 to 8, they join marketing calls. Reason being, they're not at the content yet for sales in month 3. Also, they're ahead of foundations in month 1. So if someone who's actually in weeks 5 to 8 shows up on a month 1 call, other people might feel behind or confused. Plus, that client might feel bored, like they've done this already and they're not getting help. And if they were to join month 3, which is sales, they might now feel overwhelmed and behind. And other clients who are ahead might get annoyed that someone's asking simpler questions that they should have been asking a couple weeks ago. It's like, I've already gone over this, right? And then when they graduate into weeks 9 through 12, they're now showing up on month 3 calls, which would be themed around sales. And so you can have people joining your program at all times, but maybe they get bucketed or bracketed into a certain flow or a framework. Like I said, maybe they get put with a certain coach. Maybe content is dripped out to them. So they're sort of not open manually to like whatever they want, but you're manually dripping content to them, sort of keeping track of where they're at, making sure that they don't go ahead or behind. There are so many different ways that you can do this, but this really helps keep everything organized, especially if you have something like we do with Empower, which is very much a course. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. It's very much a coaching program where we're taking you through just like school, and we want everyone watching this video and doing this homework and talking about this particular topic during this particular week. So rolling enrollment is this idea that people can join anytime, anywhere, but then they might get put into a flow, and it could even be like, these are all the January people, these are all the February people. And so you sort of have like little mini cohorts within something that's bigger, and this is just going to keep it organized. on your end, as well as the business owner, not just the client organization and making sure they don't feel like they're drowning or overwhelmed, but for you, it's going to help with things like projections, revenue, reoccurring income. It's going to help you track those things a little bit better, knowing that, okay, we made 5 sales in January, we made 26 sales in February, we made 13 sales in March. When that happens, which is generally what happens, now you can look at your data, your metrics, your analytics, and you can start to decide as a scientist, right? Because that's what we do in our business. Why? Why is this happening? Why did certain sales spike here? What did we do differently? Was it something I said? Did I do a podcast tour? Did a video go viral? Did I get a bunch of new followers? Oh, interesting. I did 3 guest coaching calls that month. We sent out 7 emails instead of 2 emails. We put out a new free opt-in. I got all these new leads coming in, right? I had 16 sales calls where in January I only had 4 sales calls. Well, why did that happen? Maybe I had more space. So you want to start to investigate and see why those things would happen. And this is going to allow you to have better projections moving forward. Because the one thing that's really frustrating as an entrepreneur is while the roller coaster of entrepreneurship is the best part because the highs are amazing, the lows are really difficult. And when you're uncertain in your business, that often causes us to create decisions or make decisions out of scarcity and lack rather than abundance, growth, and just like a knowing of where we're going. So super helpful. So we've got open enrollment, open all the time. Come on in. We'll just figure it out. We're going to throw you into the fire. Rolling enrollment, it's a little bit more organized. And when we go back to you, the business owner, the coach, the service provider, wearing all of the hats, it also gives you a little bit more of an ability to kind of shift your energy and your days from today's like a heavy marketing promotions, I'm doing sales calls days. And then maybe Tuesdays, like that's Monday. And then Tuesdays, I'm only doing coaching. I'm in the program. I'm working with the clients. And then maybe Wednesdays is back to promotion and stuff like that. So it does give you the ability energetically to kind of separate some of those things so that you're not wearing all of the hats all of the time, which if you're like me, that would probably be really helpful for you. The third and final type of enrollment, and these are just the main basic types, there's many more. The third and final is the traditional open closed enrollment. So that's what we do for our signature program, Empower, that I was talking about. That's also what we do for our Elite Mastermind. The doors are open for a certain amount of time. You can come in. In that time, we're promoting it. We're sending emails. I'm doing social media. I'm probably doing podcast tour, IG lives. We're really pushing the content out. We're inviting people in. Maybe there's an application process, a sales call process. That's the time that we're also onboarding the clients. And then we start on a particular date, right? Like the doors close, you can't get in, all is said and done. And then we all start on a particular date. And then in the container, during that container, whether it's a month, 6 months or 12 months, whatever it might be, if other people come knocking and they're interested, it's ultimately up to you to decide as the business owner. But really, if it's open and closed, it should be closed. And that person would have to wait until the next round, or they'd have to get their name on a wait list for the next round. And so a lot of the programs that we create, or the coaching containers that we create, we do follow an open closed enrollment. And the reason that I love that so much is because that's the one where I feel the team and I can really change hats, change gears, and it allows us to go all in, really forward facing. All of our energy is super focused because I do believe that scattered focus equals scattered results. And so for us, we're like in runway. Runway is deep in promotion. Everybody's focused on that. We're in lead generation. We're building our email list. We're getting me out there, getting exposure. We're doubling down on podcasts and stuff. And then from runway, we shift into marketing. And when we get heavy in marketing, now maybe we're doing our actual launch. We're hosting a masterclass. We're making sure that all of this stuff is getting done. And then we shift into promotion and we've got all of our emails going out and we're doing sales calls and we're prepping our sales team and we're talking up our coaches and we're sharing testimonials. And then we move to onboarding. And now we're collecting payment and we're making sure people are getting their contracts and we're sending out whatever needs to be sent out for them to have their experience. And we're mailing workbooks and making donations and putting people in the Facebook group and getting them the portal. And then we shift into coaching and I get to go put my coaching hat on and serve and over deliver on coaching calls and be in the moment with our clients. And then from there, we shift into offboarding. And now we're graduating people and we're sending graduation gifts and we're giving them a next level offer and we're supporting them in the graduation transition to our alumni network or anything else that we have going on. And so when we do an open closed enrollment, which we do for some of our programs and products, not all of them, we feel as a team, it gives us the ability to like really just fine tune focus on one particular thing for a short amount of time. So it becomes a little bit more of a sprint and less of a marathon. It allows us to switch hats. And it also psychologically does create urgency without us having to say anything. I don't need to wave a flag and do this marketing of like, this might be the last time this ever happens. There's only 2 spots. Doors are closing in 5 minutes, right? But at the same time, that is what's happening. And so as long as you honor your word and you live in your integrity and those things are actually true, well, that does create urgency. It does cause people to move. There's a really famous quote, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it has to do with the terminology of a deadline. Without a deadline, and I wish I remembered it, but without a deadline, it's like dead open. It's just open water and people don't necessarily move. And this is why so many of us, we've all done this. You have items in your cart online, but you just don't purchase them. And then the funny thing is they're sitting there for a day or two. What happens? Companies will send you emails. Hey, Jess, we noticed you left something in your cart. Here's 10% off. That's actually a tactic to just wait until you get an email because they pretty much always send you a coupon in the hopes that you're going to buy something. And if you wait another day, they might even send you a 15% off coupon. And if you didn't know that, well, you're welcome. You just learned that. But there's something to be said for that sort of urgency, that scarcity, that I don't want to miss the opportunity, right? And so that's something that could happen with open and closed enrollment that might not psychologically feel that way if it's just open all the time and people know that. Which again is the same idea as like going to a gym. It's not to say because it's open enrollment, people don't go, but when it comes to pricing, there's a big difference, and that's a conversation for another day. But the whole model around Retro Fitness, LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, there's nothing wrong with this. The whole model is volume. So they charge $19.99, $29.99 a month, knowing that most people, however, whatever the number is, are actually not going to show up. They're going to hit the snooze button. And so there are studies that show that they sell more memberships than they can actually fit people in the building because they know people aren't going to show up. Now, when I was a celebrity trainer in New York City, the studio that I worked in was a training studio. It wasn't a gym. You had to have a membership to walk into the studio, and you had to have a trainer to be in the room. So you were never allowed to come in and work out by yourself. It wasn't a gym, it was a training studio. The base level membership to walk through the door was $400 a month. And then on top of that, you were paying your trainer, and most of us were charging $150 to $400 an hour. I know it's crazy, but it was celebrity training. So you're paying $400 a month to walk through the door, and then every time you're there, you're paying your trainer $200 an hour. How often do you think those people are hitting the snooze button over someone who's paying $19.99? It's a completely different business model. So I'm not saying we're not talking about pricing right now, but it's the same idea with urgency, where if something's always available, we're just like, whatever. But if it's not always available, if it's a sale, I'm recording this podcast episode 3 days after Memorial Day weekend. And what do we get during Memorial Day weekend? A lot of sales. We get a lot of promotions. We get a lot of coupons. We get a lot of emails about promotions and deals. And if you're anything like me, you probably take advantage of them. You know, Mike and I bulk order the coffee that we love every time it goes on sale. And we bulk order enough to get us to the next holiday when they're going to put it on sale again. Because why are we going to pay full price if we know it's going to be on sale? But it's only on sale for 24 hours or 48 hours. And so we move. We make a move. We make a decision, right? Sometimes we even make the move when we don't need the coffee because it's on sale and we want to take advantage. So just a quick recap. We've got open enrollment. You can join anytime. Pros and cons for so many reasons. We've got rolling enrollment. You can join anytime, but you might get put into some sort of a system or framework that's going to keep you slightly organized and moving through it at a particular rate. And we have open and closed enrollment, which is a very traditional school model of school starts, school ends. We all go together. All are great. There's a reason for all of them. We've used all of them in our business, and we currently use all of them in our business. In fact, as I'm thinking about it, Empower, which is our signature 12-week program, is open and closed enrollment. Beyond Six Figures, which is our next level program for intermediate entrepreneurs who are already making $80,000 to $300,000 a year, that's rolling enrollment. They can join at any time, and their 6 months start when they join. And then our Elite Mastermind is for really clients doing $350,000 up to $1 million a year, and that's open and closed enrollment. And you can only come in and you stay through the entire year, and it has those 3 in-person retreats. Interesting. There's no right or wrong. Go snag the download. You can just read through it. I give you a whole breakdown in there. It's a 1-page PDF. It's super easy. It's totally free. It's in the show notes. And then join me for part 2, because I'm going to answer the initial question of How do I launch? Do I still need to launch if it is open enrollment, something like a membership? I'll see you in episode part 2. Cheers to Revolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.